Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for this press conference of Chairperson-in-Office Linda and Secretary General Helga Maria Schmidt. Without further ado, I'll hand over to the Chairperson for her statement.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Secretary General, nice to meet you. I appreciate the warm welcome I have received here in Vienna and finally being able to travel here as OSCE Chairperson in Office. I was also a great pleasure to have substantial talks once again with my colleague Helga Schmidt, the Secretary General. At the halfway point of our chairpersonship, I am confident that we have been able to focus on the priorities we presented back in January. Our emphasis on the common principle and joint commitment of the OSCE participating states is to defend the European security order, to uphold the unique OSCE concept of comprehensive security, and to contribute to conflict resolution. We are carrying out these principles with an inclusive and gender equal approach and a special focus on the women, peace and security agenda. One of my top priorities during these first 6 months has been interacting with all the countries hosting an OSCE field mission or being party to one of the protracted conflicts in our region. I have now made 16 visits in the region as chairperson in office, and I'm confident that the OSCE is making a difference in all these contacts. My focus with respect to the prolonged conflicts has been to take small but necessary steps to relieve human suffering and create more favorable conditions for political sustainable solution in accordance with the OSCE principles and commitments and international law. In more general terms, I want all of the OSCE field operations to continue supporting their host countries in fulfilling their OSCE commitments. Some of the things I have learned during my visit confirm the troubling view we had from the outset regarding the challenges to fundamental rights and freedom in our region. The stories I've heard from local journalists, together with reports from the representative of media freedom, paint a worrying picture of the situation for media freedom in the OSCE region. This is why freedom of expression is one of our priorities in the human dimension. It's also why we held the Stockholm Media Freedom Conference in May to discuss how we can work together to combat threats and violence against media workers and share best practices on how to counter anti-media sentiments. 6 months in, I can say from experience that the OSCE confidence and security building measures and common commitments have real-world importance. One example is the Vienna document, which we have used to increase transparency with respect to the crisis in and around Ukraine. Ongoing dialogue is a central tool of the OSCE, especially so in times of conflicts and tensions in our region. Therefore, it is especially unfortunate that we will not hold the 2021 Annual Security Review Conference today as planned. Despite efforts from the Swedish chairpersonship and others, we have not been able to reach consensus on holding this flagship conference in the first dimension. Let me also add that I'm concerned by the trend we have seen the last few years in the OSCE as well as in other international organizations, that seemingly unrelated decisions are taken hostage by one country. Not always the same, but still very damaging in an organization that takes decision by consensus. But let me assure you that we will continue to do our utmost to hold the ACRC as soon as possible. In conclusion, we are proud of our work so far and thankful for the work that we've been able to do together with the participating states and the institutions to strengthen security and democracy in Europe. Thank you very much. Now I leave the floor to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Minister. Secretary General, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and it's also my pleasure to be here with Minister Ann Linde at this halfway point in the 2021 chairpersonship and 6 months into my term as Secretary General. And let me say that I'm very grateful to the Minister for her strong commitment to our organization, also as shown in her extensive travels to our field operations and also her routine participation in our own activities. I think we both truly believe in the potential of this organization, which is truly unique in its mandate, combining arms control, conflict prevention, transnational threats, economic, environmental issues, and human rights, which means that we are well placed to spot and address the linkages between issues like the environmental aspects of conflict prevention or the human rights aspects of preventing and countering terrorism, or the various aspects of human trafficking, which is now a $150 billion industry that strengthens organized crime groups, but in particular leads to widespread exploitation, particularly of women and children, or how our framework for arms control could adapt in the age of new technologies. We have discussed this and a lot more in the past 6 months, sharing practices and also helping to build capacities of participating states to tackle these shared challenges. And the 16 field operations working on the ground do invaluable work, often in regions where other international organizations are less well represented. And among my highlights as OSCE Secretary General was also the opportunity to visit our operations, for example, our special monitoring mission in Ukraine, where I was able to see firsthand how its 700 monitors from 44 nationalities monitor developments with regard to Ukraine and support efforts towards a peaceful resolution. Let me just make quickly 3 or 4 points on how I see my work. First, I'm working hard to promote our visibility, ensuring our work is even better understood by more and more people. And that's not just governments, but outreach to youth, also a priority of the Minister, academia, the private sector and civil society, because I think everyone plays a role in secure and inclusive societies. The second, I am working hard to promote our transparency and accountability with more reporting to participating states on what our organization is doing each and every week, and an overhaul of our results-based management system. And third, with my fellow heads of the OSCE institutions, we are advancing a new whole of the OSCE approach, also under the guidance of the chair, which appreciates that free media, human rights and national minority issues are inseparable from what we are doing here in the Secretariat, and vice versa, of course, in full respect of our respective mandates. And fourth, I'm committed to make the OSCE an even more gender-balanced and geographic diverse workplace. And finally, we are trying to ensure the OSCE remains ahead of the curve, looking into the old challenges, but also in the new emerging challenges, including the new technological challenges, to be able to confront them together. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Secretary General. So we have about 15 minutes to do some Q&As. If you're in the room here in the Hofburg, you'll need to put on your headsets to hear those that are contributing from Zoom. And we will start with a question from Zoom. So if I could get Margarita from Ria Novosti to please ask her question.
Hello, good morning. Do you hear me? My first question is addressed to Ms. Ann Linde. I know that you have already visited Ukraine twice. So my question is, are you going to visit Moscow? If so, then when? Who are you going to meet and what topics will be on the agenda? And also one question to Ms. Helga Schmidt. During your visit to Moscow, you mentioned that representative for freedom of the media is going to visit Moscow in July. Maybe there is already some exact date. So in what date she's going to do it? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, I visited Moscow as OSCE Chair-in-Office already in February. We had extensive discussions, and I have several times had both virtual and real-life meeting with my colleague, Foreign Minister Lavrov, and I think we have always interesting discussions on different topics. So that is the case.
Mm-hmm. Our special representative for the freedom of the media has indeed the intention to visit Moscow. When exactly she will be going is something that, of course, has to be seen with her directly in line with her commitments. After I came back from Moscow, our High Commissioner for National Minorities was visiting Moscow. Mm.
Great, thank you. We have a question from in the room. We have Albert Otti from the Deutsche Presseagentur.
Yes, hello, German press agency, thank you. A question for you, Madam Foreign Minister. On the security review conference, can you explain a little bit what items on the agenda were disputed so we can understand what the problem was, and maybe you can explain whether what country or what countries blocked a resolution of that agenda dispute? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Despite the efforts from the chairpersonship and others, we were not able to reach a consensus on the ACRA today. And it's very unfortunate, of course, that it was not possible to hold a conference. And there is an OSCE ministerial decision to hold this conference in the first dimension on the first part of the year. And this year, which with the backdrop of the conflicts in the region, the chairpersonship tried to fill the ACRC agenda with high-level participants and panels to illustrate the important role that the OSCE has to play in conflict resolution. I will not go into exactly what the country is, but it was one country who was not agreeing on the agenda, and that means that I took the decision to postpone the ACRC and hope for more constructive discussions after the summer, so that we can hold the conference later.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Zoom. Anna Grigorian from the Armen State News Agency, Armenia.
Good day. Do you listen to me? Okay, my question is addressed to Ms. Linde. Ms. Linde, as you may know, there is a great disappointment in the Armenian public concerning the passive stance of the OSCE during the last year's war in Nagorno-Karabakh. Unfortunately, this public perception was not far from the reality, since the OSCE has not and is not acting when it comes to Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Given this passive stance of the OSCE, and since the president of Azerbaijan is constantly claiming that the conflict of Nagorno-Karabakh has been resolved and suggested to forget about this conflict, can we assume that the OSCE Swedish chairpersonship is in agreement with this stance of Azerbaijan? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't agree at all with the notion that OSCE is not putting a lot of efforts in the issue of the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan and what has happened in Nagorno-Karabakh. I have a special representative who is very, very active. I have a physical meeting with him yesterday to discuss the situation. We have a co-chairpersonship from the Minsk co-chairs from United States, Russia, and France, who try to do a lot of positive events, even if they have not been able to enter the area for the last year. Some parts of the COVID, of course, but also for other reasons. And also in mid-June there was an agreement to return 15 Armenian detainees to Armenia and Armenia's handover to Azerbaijan of information that will facilitate important demining work. And I think that was a welcoming confidence building measure. And here it was a valuable role played by Georgia, United States, as well as excellent cooperation between the President of the European Council and our Swedish chairpersonship. So in this statement that I have made, I have urged Armenia and Azerbaijan to build upon these positive steps by releasing all remaining detainees and resuming high-level negotiation under the auspices of the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairs and with the assistance of the personal representative of the OSCE Chairperson-in-Office, Ambassador Kasperczyk, in order to find comprehensive political settlement to all outstanding issues, because there is still not a real peace agreement between the parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Our next question is from here in the room from Austrian Press Agency.
Thank you, Alexandra. I've got a question to the Foreign Minister. As we all know, the Swedish government has resigned, the Prime Minister has resigned, and you as a Foreign Minister hold this position due to your position as Foreign Minister. So I would like to ask you if you could just indicate to us what is the way forward. How long do you expect to hold this position? And what will happen if some other person will become foreign minister? Is there an interior political consensus in Sweden about the priorities of the presidency?
Thank you very much. Yes, as you know, yesterday the Prime Minister was dismissed by the Speaker of the Riksdag. And we, as minister, retain our positions until a new government takes office. That means that I, as foreign minister, will continue as foreign minister until there is a new government. And I would say that the agreement among the political parties about the OSCE chairpersonship is very great. Before we took on the task of being chairperson, I had consultation with the parliament several times. During the chairpersonship, I have met with the parliamentary parties, both the opposition and with all the parties, and I can say that there is a solid agreement on the priorities, and even if I as a person will not continue, there will be no change in the Swedish chairpersonship priorities for the rest of the year. Sweden has taken a responsibility for this, and we will fulfill that.
Our next question is also from the room here in Hofburg, Stephanie Lichtenstein.
Many thanks. My name is Stephanie Lichtenstein. I'm a freelance journalist. I would have one question to both of you. As far as I know, there's still no consensus on the OSCE budget. And if it's not approved by, I think, 1st of July, the OSCE will enter in some form of a provisional budgeting where new contracts and projects cannot be implemented. And I wanted to know what is it that we can expect? Will it be adopted still this week, or will there be a further delay? And maybe as a second question, also to both of you, there was a recent clash in the Black Sea near Crimea between a UK warship and the Russian military, and I was wondering if the OSCE has any way of playing a role of reducing tensions here. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me start about how the chairpersonship is working to achieve the unified budget, and then to the Secretary General. Of course, the budget is not only a financial and administrative decision. It's affected by all the political issues, and sometimes it's deeply polarized. The difficulties in reaching the consensus, therefore, is a reflection of the different relation between the participating states. And this has been the case for years and years. As chair, we are leading the budget negotiation, and our ambassador Ulrika Fönnered here in Vienna is doing that. And there is a proposal on the table which almost all participating states support. And we are now engaging with the remaining few to see how we can move forward, given the decision is severely delayed already. It is in all our interest to find a way forward to allow the organization to effectively deliver on its mandate. I don't know, Ulrika, do you want to add something to that?
It's a lot of no, I think that's correct. There are still negotiations ongoing, and as you know, those of you that are familiar with OSCE, the budget is already on monthly allotment. So thank you.
If I should just say on the crisis in and around Ukraine is, of course, on top of the OSCE agenda. We follow the situation very closely. We have seen worrying developments in the last couple of months, with an increasing number of ceasefire violations, aggressive rhetoric, and unusual military activity by Russia, including reports of restriction of access to parts of the Black Sea. And just less than a month ago, I visited Mariupol in the harbor and could see with my own eyes and following on the maps and the computer screens how difficult it is for ships to pass. Before it could take 1 hour, now it can take 24 hours. And I have, of course, been in contacts several times, both with the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov and the Ukrainian Foreign Minister Kuleba to discuss how we can de-escalate tensions, all in accordance with international law, of course. Helga, do you want to say something about the two issues?
No, thank you. Is not much to add. You have said it all. Just on the budget, indeed, this is the prerogative of the chair, and we have a very committed, also a chairperson here with Ambassador Fulneret. We're already working indeed on monthly allotments, which is not only a more cumbersome process, it's also a cost factor, and it's also an issue of reputation for this organization, because it of course affects also the way we interact with other organizations. On the second question, I would just to add to what the chairperson has said is I think this just shows how important it is, and this is a commitment, of course, also for the organization to increase predictability, trust, that states have to display the utmost transparency, also when it comes, for example, to exercises, because any of these incidents can spiral out of control, and this is also the work we're doing here in Vienna.
Thank you very much. That's all that we have time for today. Thank you very much for attending to those online. Minister, Secretary General, thank you.